Well, hi there, everybody. Been a while, huh? This is Catherine Isabel Jennings for Your Life Matters Wellness, Your Life Matters News and Comment. And it has been a while because I have been dealing with a topic that it just keeps resonating with me, and I am learning more about it. And this is going to be one of two videos that I'm doing because it's so far reaching, and the more I think about it, the more I research it, the more I think about it, the more I research this thing, and I've just come to the conclusion that we have to get a baseline on this topic and expand on it and then get healing and grow and unite. So what is the topic, you might ask? Well, I'm trying to meld and look into the significance of, can a spiritual walk dispel a theory? Can it dispel a critical race theory? Can it break it up? And in order to do that, we have to look at what critical theories are and define them. So this video, this is one of two videos. This is going to give you a lot of data that can at least get your head to wrap around the second part of the video, which will say, well, how did this affect you? And what can we do about this? And I really believe in my heart of hearts that awareness and talking and verbalizing something can bring us knowledge and introspection and teach us to grow together and get healing and grow some more and unite. And I really think that this is the way to go. I haven't seen anybody talk about this, although I have some pretty good people that I'm looking at right now on dispelling critical race theory and what it is. So in order to do this, I've got a lot of data here, guys. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break down history. And I think once you get a history on something and you get this, it's almost like an epiphany. It's like, oh, I've been taught this? Oh, I didn't know. And it's affected me this way? Okay. So you can't know unless someone breaks it down for you. You can't address something unless you say, this happened to me. And this has happened to all of us in America and probably, these other, France and Germany. I know that because of the history that I'm looking at. But we have been skewed into believing something that is fabrication, and it's prone to failure, and we're biting it hook, line, and sinker. It's because of the methodologies that are been intrinsically placed inside of us without our knowing, and that's where I'm going to go. So let's look at this. All right, so the definition of critical theories. Okay, so critical theory applies reflective assessments and critique of society and culture by applying knowledge from the social sciences and the humanities. That's the definition of critical theory. My question right off the top of the bat is applying of, quote, reflective assessments. First of all, who's doing this and what is their source? Okay. These are just little things I want you to plant in your brain, okay? Critical theory, or, quote, social critical theory, describes the neo-Marxist philosophy of the Frankfurt School, which was in the 1930s. And there was a theorist, and I have this on my February 9th, 2021 video, and you can go back there. It's very basic, but it just started piquing my interest, and this has just been expanding and exploding in my research. So that's where it's coming from. So anyway, this was birthed out of a communistic society through the Frankfurt School in Frankfurt, Germany, by a theorist named Max Horkheimer, and he describes critical theory as, quote, to liberate human beings from the circumstances that enslave them, unquote. And as a result, he took this from the Karl Marx theories and Sigmund Freud, and basically the principal obstacle to human liberation is an ideology. And those came from Karl Marx and Sigmund Freud. It's the ideology. Let's define ideology. An ideology is a system of ideas and ideals, especially one which forms basic economic or political theory and policy. So, in that scope, political theory and political economic, basic economic theory, for me, I have to go back to theory. It is a system of, it's part of the scientific model, and it is part of, it is not proven, it is part of a bigger picture. And if we can understand this, if we can understand that a theory is not written in stone as successful and motivates us into a better overall wellness of the human condition. If it doesn't do that, and a theory generally in this respect hasn't done it, there's no proof to it, and it's not absolute. And that's the whole thing, where in my second part of the second portion of these videos, I'm going to bridge you into a fuller picture, because this is only part of the picture. Anything that I'm reading to you, get that in your head, that what I'm reading to you is historical, it's documented, and all that stuff, but this is a full picture. It's not a full picture of what is being presented to you. You know in part in this data. That's it. We know in part. There's more to the picture. There's a bigger portion that is not included. Okay, so let's turn the page over. And basically, all right, so I was looking up in YouTube, and there are aspects of critical theory that you can look at in videos from 2016. And there's this whole literature criticism and analyzing literature lectures using critical theory. I'm not going to go there. However, I'm going to go into the critical race theory and where it came from and all that kind of stuff. What is it? Where did it come from? When did it begin to take shape? Has it taken shape within your thoughts, within your behaviors, and you don't even know? And that's all going to be part of my second video, because I believe that the data that I'm giving you is going to set you up for the second video, and you're going to say, whoa, okay, this is what's happened to me, and this is why I'm motivated this way and to thinking this way. And it's a skew of thought, and it's a type of brainwashing. So I have to set you up with data. It's important, okay? So let's move on. All right, so critical race theory was brought into the United States in the 1960s by a professor, and her name is Angela Davis. I am going to revisit her later, very, very soon. But I want you to know who her doctoral advisor was, and I want you to know who influenced her. Now let's just touch base with who influenced her. Okay, this woman, I looked at her bio and I said, you know what, she's a freaking awesome person. All right, but I don't know what her standards are. I just know who she is on a a career criteria level. She is really brilliant, and I commend her immensely. And her name is, what is her name? Patricia Hill Collins. Let me tell you her data. Okay, she was a professor of sociology, matron at the University of Maryland, College Park. She's a former department of head of the African American Studies at the University of Cincinnati. She was the 100th president of the American Sociological Association, and she was the first black female American to take that position. Hats off to you, lady. Hats off to you. But I don't know what your standards are, but I commend you on who you become and what you strive to. Okay, the second person I wanted to tell you before I get into Angela Davis is her doctoral advisor. Okay, his name is Herbert Marcuse. If I say it wrong, if I say it incorrectly, I'm sorry. But do you know who this person is? Okay, so he is a noted philosopher, socialist, political theorist. He's associated very strongly with the Frankfurt School of Critical Theory. He's a prominent figure in Frankfurt, and he's really let's see. I'm sorry, I skipped that over. He is from that school. That school later became the Institute of Social Research, and the Frankfurt School. He criticized capitalism, modern technology, Soviet communism, entertainment culture, arguing that they represent new forms of social control. This is very important to learn right here. In 1943 to 1950, he worked through the U.S. government for the Office of Strategic Services, the CIA. He criticized the ideology of Communist Party of the Soviet Union in a book called A Critical Analysis in 1958. Okay, that makes him look pretty darn good in the U.S. Government for criteria, but it's the 1960s through the 70s that kind of like had me look a little bit more. So he became a prominent theorist in the 1960s and the 1970s for the New Left, and the student movements that perpetuated and moved throughout West Germany, through France, and through the United States. And I will come that he is a proponent, he's a worker with Angela Davis. He established, now this is something to really grab a hold of. This man, I am not very good with remembering names, okay? Herbert Marcuse, okay? This man established the Marxist scholarship, which inspired many radical intellectuals and political activists in the 1960s and the 1970s in the United States and international. Okay, so he established a Marxist scholarship back then, which people went and they studied under him for free because it was a scholarship, and they annexed his ideologies into who they were, and out of that, if they were in the academia field or the business field or the political field, it filtered through them and it went out. Okay, so he just was cloning himself. Okay, so that being said, I brought this up in this on my own, is if that was happening, let's look at who Angela Davis is. Now, Angela Davis was a pretty smart lady. I'm not going to minimize the intellectual level of these people. I will never do that. And the aspirations. I am all about the motive. Okay? So, Angela Davis She calls herself an activist. She calls herself a scholar. Let's see. She is a professor in the 1960s at the University of California. So here's what she did. She was under this man, okay, Herbert Marcuse. Now, she was so motivated. Now, why would she be motivated? This is a black woman from the 60s into the 70s, a very articulate person. I will never minimize someone's intellect. But she comes into the scene of the 1960s. What happened then? Okay, there was upheaval. We saw the parks problem, segregation. It was just such a mess. And the motivations, what are the motivations? Well, of course, over many decades, and who knows how many decades, there was a lot of oppression in black cultures and a lot of rage, and there were riots beyond riots, and there wasn't equality. And my hat's off to anybody who lived during that time that pummeled through the BS of racism. It was appalling, and it was real, and it was just an atrocity. So you have this person named Angela Davis, who is a scholarly woman, and she's under the Marxist scholarship under this man, perhaps, and she becomes his, probably one of his proteges. Okay, and she's motivated. Why? She's motivated by anger, okay, because that's all she knew, all right? She has smarts and anger, and she's operating out of her soul to her body using the highest level of intelligence we can probably picture, because she's so articulate. But she goes in and she gets a fundamental download of Marxism. Okay, and I'm going to read to you what Marxism is, because I think it's important that you understand, because we will go into the Marxist communistic applications a little bit and what this critical race theory entails. But before we do that, we have to understand what Marxism is. The noun, Marxism, the political economic theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, later developed by their followers to form the basis and theory and practice of communism. Can I say that again? Marxism. It's the noun. This is from Wikipedia, okay? The political and economic theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, later developed by their followers to form the basis for theory and practice of communism. Communism, in its simple terms, a political and economic theory where a society has no classes. Every person within the society works for the common good and class struggle. This is a really long word. The theoretically, it's just a struggle. It's a theory. It's a theory, it's a theory, it's a theory, okay? The problems with Marxism, there were, I guess, I didn't delve into deeply the primary ones, but the secondary problems, 3 of them. To assess and assume that the firm conviction of Marx, that he was right when he said that the false consciousness caused by capitalism, the inevitable failure of capitalism due to the internal contradictions, can breed a form of elitist thinking that can become very manipulative. So when I see this as it relates to us now, okay, there are problems in Marxism. And when I see under critical race theory, under their 5 attributes, I see this. There are problems, because if anything is to work itself It is to unite to make a human being a better person. It's not to divide and conquer and to condescend and rip each other apart. And the attributes under the critical race theory, it rips and it doesn't care, because Marxism doesn't care about the person. Communism doesn't care about the person. Communism cares about its structure, avoiding classes, okay? And it takes like the whole capitalist society and it breaks it up, and it just says, you know what? We're all equal, and we all have the equal attributes. And this is where it gets gnarly, because if you look at critical race theory, the purpose is not to put a value on a human being or human life. It is to divide and conquer, and to make you feel insignificant, and to rage at. And if you see that, the dividing purpose, that divide, it's their behaviors that spew out of a person based on the following a system of theory that is only a theory. And that's where I'm very concerned about us as Western cultures, or any culture for that matter. So basically, Marxism says those who have economic power control all other institutions in society. And I have to tell you, based on what we're seeing right now, the breakdown of the pushing through agendas without due process in our government, in our left side of government, which, the new left agenda under AKA Marxism, under AKA these people that formulated Marxism, is in our political system. And we cannot dispel that truth. It is a truth. And they are, in fact, grabbing the dollar and becoming. And we are sitting. We're sitting, listening, and believing whatever is spewed out to us. And we can think for ourselves. So when I'm seeing that to you, I want to go back to our gal, Angela Davis. So Angela Davis is an interesting person because she's noted for her Marxism history, and she did all the critical theories, but she was the key person of bringing critical race theory to the United States in the 60s. Think about this. She's academia personified. We can honor that, but she was I have to say, an elitist under this gentleman from Frankfurt, Horace Herbert. She was an elitist. She was his protege. He molded and shaped her, and then he threw her into the United States. And what did that do? Well, because since the Industrial Revolution, we have opened up our doors to all kinds of philosophies on an intellectual level, on a political level, on an industrial level, on an educational level. We just had an open book, and we let anything crawl its little butt into our country. And this is, I'm sorry, Angela, I'm not trying to insult you. I will tell you that your theories came right in, and we gleaned from you through your academia attributes that what you were saying was good for our country. And it spouted itself through the rage of oppression. And I know, because my history is bridging cultures and part of my educational history. And I will not dispel that there is rage in black cultures here. I will not tell you that. Back then, I happened to be around a lot of black cultures, and they aren't. But some of them are very stuck. They've bought into ideologies that are just not true as well. So When I'm talking to you about critical race theory, there are 5 attributes. Charlie Kirk broke it down so well. Look at anything on critical race theory for Charlie Kirk, because sometimes it gets so involved that I really want to make it simple for you to look and say, oh, this makes serious sense. So look at my video from February 9th, 2021, because I think that I break that down. There's one that I'm focused on that a lot. I believe it was the 3rd attribute. But the bottom line is, under critical race theory, people aren't valuable. Your opinion isn't valuable. The way you want to connect to someone is, it's like you're not taught to debate. Because one of the attributes is, if you are following critical race theory, you don't want to engage to expand the thought process and to give your opinion and let the other person give the other, back and forth. Because under critical race theory, you are you're just throwing in the towel, and you're not, and you are listening to only them. That's a lie. That is a true lie. I'm going to go into my faith a little bit, because I believe a bigger picture than using the intellect and the emotion to bring about clarity on theories and things like that, or awareness. Okay. But as a person who works out of their spirit through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, I have to look at Jesus Christ's example. And while he was living here, he was brought to bring forth conversation, to ask questions, to pull up from someone where they stand and what their perceptions are, to bring in truth and clarity. He wanted to engage. So in our Western culture as the United States, this was brought into the United States as our foundation, and all people were created equal, and they have inalienable whatever rights. And I can't say that word for some reason, but anyway, we are all equal. So if we are all equal, then we have the right to engage in a conversation, to bridge our thoughts back and forth. And out of that, I haven't found one situation where I didn't listen to what you have to say and you didn't listen to what I have to say, bring forth rage. I mean, it would frustration, but there was always something learned and not oppressed. And that's what I think, one of the attributes of critical race theory says, don't engage. Well, we're going to go into my next video, and you're going to find out, because we were taught not to engage in education, all the way up, we developed passivity. We developed, oh boy, what's the word I'm thinking of? We've just developed this complacency because of what we were taught through the education field, and it seeped itself into our belief systems in our church. It seeped itself into a higher education, and we were taught to sit back and regurgitate. And that is what I'm going to end with, and I would like for you to please see part 2 of this video, because I believe that can the spiritual nature of a man, that third component, can that in fact break up the inconsistencies and the disunity of the critical race theories? Just to let you know, on a side note, Angela Davis won the prestigious International Lenin Peace Award. What is that award? That award is given to those who exemplify their communistic viewpoints as a scholar, as a subscriber to communism, who are not Soviet Union citizens. This woman has won that. And this woman has won that through critical race theory. So, look up the International Lenin Peace Award. And this is the woman who infiltrated our educational systems, and we let her. And I'm going to say that to you. So this is Catherine Isabel Jennings for Your Life Matters News and Comment, Your Life Matters Wellness, dispelling critical race theory. And there's a lot of people that are doing it now, and my hat's off to them. But my second video of this is going to bridge and let's see how we can see a bigger picture, because we can be the bigger picture. Take care.